We're going to do something different today.
So
the downfall of WCW. So as you saw, I'm going to try and talk about the fall of WCW for 40 minutes with no preparation. And I promise you, I have done no prep. I literally just ate dinner and I was like, you know what, I'll do the video now. So I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to go 40 minutes to try and talk about why WCW fell, some theories about why it fell, and why those theories are justified, or my opinions on them. Oh my god, I hope this does well. Okay, so we're going to jump into it in 3, 2, 1. There are quite a few reasons for the fall of WCW. In that 1 minute video where I spoke about it, I kind of have a few examples as to why WCW fell, and I'm just going to go into them now. So the first one, I think, is Eric Bischoff just spending money like it was anything. He was spending it like water. Number 2, Hogan. Hulk Hogan, in my opinion, is one of the biggest reasons WCW fell apart, and his contract, and I'll get into that further. 3, Vince Russo being left completely unchecked when it comes to creative, because, God, some of the creative was interesting. And fourthly, I would maybe say, I'd say WWE's creative getting better around the time of the Monday Night Wars and going into the fall of WCW. And I think fifthly, I'll touch onto the whole, which is probably the biggest one, the whole business aspect of it, which, God, I don't remember any of the names because I did no prep for this, but a lot of the business stuff with Time Warner and all the acquisitions and stuff did also, probably was the nail in the coffin. However, we will start from the first one of those, which was Eric Bischoff and his spending and his just being Eric Bischoff as a whole. If I'm going to go completely honestly, I don't think Eric Bischoff is the main reason WCW fell. However, I think just the spending and Eric Bischoff being Eric Bischoff, it contributed. I think overall all of these contributed, but we'll talk about the Eric Bischoff thing in particular. So we all know Eric Bischoff. We all love Eric Bischoff. When I was a kid, I hated Eric Bischoff because Kayfabe worked on me as a child. Look, Eric Bischoff clearly loves the industry. He clearly had an eye for the industry, but I think his own personal predilections at points kind of got in the way. Some of his spending ideas, some of his ideas were a bit, naff. I can't say those ideas in particular were the main reason WCW fell, because that would be incorrect. But let's just talk about it. So we can talk about it for about 10 minutes. So, Eric Bischoff, listen, NWO, one of the greatest ideas. However, Eric Bischoff went a little bit too hard on NWO. Obviously, he wasn't the only person on creative. Vince Russo was there at times, other people were there at times. But he leaned so heavily into the NWO on screen and behind screen, it hurt. So you have things like the NWO burying everyone in WCW. I guess actually this could actually be Eric Bischoff / the NWO, which is also Hogan. It's all connected. Anyway, let's try and concentrate on mostly Eric Bischoff. So if we take the whole NWO stuff out, he was spending money. Like, he was spending, I'm pretty sure he had close to unlimited money to spend. There were points where they were pulling in amazing ratings, but WCW was still making a loss. I think one of the things I was like, wow, this makes no sense when it comes to economic perspective, and it is, maybe mostly due to Eric Bischoff, but the whole I think it was Hog Wild, their pay-per-view where it was outdoors, and I think it was a biker event, and Eric Bischoff was a real big biker fan, so it was like, here, we'll give away a pay-per-view for free, basically. It was just all these bikers were there, and like, yo, Hog Wild, and it's like, you didn't sell any tickets to this. What the hell? It's just, in my opinion, it's like stuff like that some of his spending habits, where he was spending big on contracts, he was spending big on going to stadiums. They were doing some stupid promotional stuff as well. I was just like, this was just a bad idea. Also, Eric Bischoff just leaning into almost kind of being a bit of a pushover when it comes to the NWO, and just not even just NWO, just like Hogan and his mates. Like, there were stories of Eric Bischoff being locked into a closet because I think it was Scott Hall and Kevin Nash didn't like either he fired or reprimanded X-Pac. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was the story. Again, no prep. Yeah, I think that's like those sort of things were like, okay, you don't have Eric Bischoff is in charge, but he's not in charge. And a good example now is, for better or for worse, Vince McMahon is in charge of WWE. He knows what's happening. He knows who's in his company. Well, okay, he knows the company. He's in charge of the company. He's the be-all, end-all of the company. There are people around him who can make decisions, but no one is gonna like push him over. I think a similar thing is working for Tony Khan and AEW, where yes, you have the Young Bucks, you have Kenny Omega, you have Cody Rhodes, who are EVPs, but at the end of the day, Tony Khan is where the buck stops, and people respect that. And I think the fact people respect that is the biggest thing there. Again, for better or for worse when it comes to WWE, because Vince is a little bit out of touch, people will respect his authority and no one's going to push him over. Maybe he'll get ousted by the board. I strongly doubt that, though. He's so synonymous with wrestling. Eric Bischoff did do a couple things where he wasn't the nicest person. I'm pretty sure, I think Chris Jericho said in the Broken Skull sessions that Bischoff was a bit of a dick to him when it came to his contract running out. I can't fully remember. I think Jericho was like, I watched the Broken Skull sessions, but Jericho was kind of like, yeah, I'm done now. This is my last day. And then Bischoff was like, I think it was Bischoff. Was like, why aren't you coming to Nitro? It's like, yeah, I'm done, man. I'm not doing anymore. My contract expired, and Bischoff was being a right, like, so and so to him. So that stuff like that. I know he was a bit dickish to Austin when Austin left, or I think Austin got fired, didn't he? I think they FedExed him his firing papers. Like, didn't give him a call, they just FedExed them to him. Or I think the stuff with Eddie, and all the Radicals leaving, I think Bischoff said some really dodgy stuff to them, which is kind of the reason why Eddie was able to leave. I'm not 100% sure it was Bischoff in particular who threatened the Radicals, but Bischoff was a bit dickish to them as well, and that sort of stuff doesn't help, because that kind of ties into the Hogan thing, because you had all of this great cruiserweight talent and mid-card talent, and they never pushed them. And yeah, Bischoff was buddy with NWO lot, Hogan lot in particular. So it was kind of like, what am I gonna do? And then with your, which I thought was the best part of WCW, although I kind of like the cringe stuff as well. But when you've got your workhorses all leaving en masse and you're being a dick to them, it's kind of like, oh no. Especially at the time where people, they might have left for WWE, but there was a potential of them coming back to WCW, and he was just like, whatever, I'm gonna be a dick to you on your way out. And so people wouldn't come back. It's, again, I'm gonna bring modern comparisons. It's kind of like Mickie James was released by WWE. Had everything gone smoothly and cordially on her going out, maybe down the line she might be willing to maybe come back, do a farewell run, kind of like how Jacqueline is doing in TNA, Impact, or do it's weird because like this really should have been Mickey's farewell run, have a good few years, win the title. But you know, maybe that won't happen. Maybe they bring her back for a one-off celebrity match or something, which I guess they kind of did that already with bringing her back to face Asuka. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, but now with this whole trash bag situation, it's like I wouldn't want to go back to a company who gave me a trash bag of stuff and it was the wrong stuff. Like, if you treat people well on their way out, they may be willing to come back and work with you or do stuff in the future with you, even if it is just a documentary or doing what Beth Phoenix is doing now, working commentary. I don't know if she's producing stuff, but she's working commentary. You know, it's good stuff you're meant to do on people's way out, and it's just, that's not what happened with anyone in WCW in relation to Eric Bischoff a lot of the time. So I think that's where my opinion on where Bischoff stands, being one of the reasons WCW fell. 30 minutes. The next reason, I think, is was Hogan the second one I said? I think Hogan was the second one I said. Yeah, Hulk Hogan. I am going to be very honest. I'm not a fan of Hogan. I don't like him. Unfortunately, as a child, I was brainwashed by Kayfabe so well by Vince McMahon that I used to love Hulk Hogan. But then the more I read about and hear about and just see coming from Hulk Hogan's mouth, I just don't like him. I watch his matches as well, and I'm like, he's not a great wrestler. I mean, I actually, what his I don't remember who his God damn it, his New Japan match, was it against Kobayashi? I don't know. His New Japan match was actually decent. Like, he is Ichiban in that one match, but his contract, his role in the company, his everything was just detrimental to WCW. Like, you know what? Yeah, fine. Bring him in once he left WWE, went and did the movies. Frankly, when he left WWE, it's because he was running out of steam and he wasn't the biggest draw. But, you know, Vince still rolls him out. He did it this year for Mania. People know his name. So, yes, Hogan there, you know, great. When he initially joined, he was like not that great. People were booing him. People were like, yo, it's Hogan. Okay. But then the NWO stuff hit. Him joining with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, amazing. Great creative. What an idea, getting this man that was eat your vitamins and say your prayers and making him a heel, making him an invader in WCW, an invader in Georgia. So smart, such a good idea. But then you just let it run wild. It becomes a boys' club for Hogan and his mates. He brings in Beefcake. I think he brings in DiBiase. He brings in all these people who were big in the WWE in the 80s, and it's like, this isn't cool anymore. And I think Kevin Nash is very clear, like, yeah, this wasn't cool. And just like it becoming Hogan's boys' club was like, what's the point? Bringing in Macho Man, doing the Mega Powers 2.0, bringing in, obviously I think the Warrior thing was so Hogan could get his pin back on Warrior Brother. But again, wholly unnecessary. Appealing to Hulk Hogan in your early creative when he was there, entirely implausible and not useful. Then we move on to Hogan just being like, that doesn't work for me, brother. Hogan just being like, oh, you want me to fight this fresh young talent? No, I'm gonna bury him. It's like, and any time a young talent got one over him, it was due to insane interference, and so to set up Hogan a bigger storyline with someone bigger than him, or someone bigger than his current opponent. So, again, can't remember any examples, but like the Goldberg thing was one of the few ways they did that really well. They were like, okay, Goldberg will pin you clean. Obviously, I think Hogan maybe was okay with that because, like, Goldberg's a big lad, brother. Which was just stupid. I mean, actually, no, that was good, but also was stupid that it was free on TV and not a pay-per-view thing because people were willing to pay to watch Goldberg finally beat Hogan. I frankly think that should have been on pay-per-view. That, I think we'll talk about in the business dealings at the end. It's just silly, that stuff. And then you have his contract, where I'm pretty sure his contract was so huge every year, plus he got a cut of the gate, plus he got a cut of pay-per-view buys. I'm like, why are you giving this one man so much money when, especially to the end of his time at WCW, he wasn't really the biggest draw? The likes of Goldberg, of Booker T, the Flair actually still was a big draw. But like Hogan definitely was not the biggest draw there. Sting, big draw. But Hogan was just there. It's like, oh my God, why would your contract give him so much money when he's not worth it? You know what? Maybe his first contract, I'd be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, give him a cut of the gate. Give him a cut of pay-per-view buys. Sting wasn't the name he is now. Sting wasn't the name he was at the end. Flair had a bad relationships with people there. He was going in and out. Bischoff was a dick to Flair as well. I think. Sorry, let's go back to Bischoff. But I'm pretty sure Flair wanted a week off to watch his son, like a day off to watch his son wrestle, and he told Bischoff. And then he didn't show to, I don't know if it was Thunder or Nitro, and Bischoff flipped and was a massive dick to him. I'm like, why? He told you already. He's Ric Flair. You don't be a dick to Ric Flair. I digress. Anyway, back to Hogan. Giving him such a big cut was like, I strongly doubt he was drawing enough to justify that cut, especially at the end of his tenure at WCW. Well, the end towards the last few years of WCW. He most definitely wasn't drawing well enough to be giving him the size of his contract. And then on top of that, his creative control clauses were insane, which feeds into that doesn't work for me, brother, type deal when it comes to Hulk Hogan. It was like, hey, brother, I'm not letting them go over. Then there's all this stupid stuff with the NWO and the finger poke of doom and stuff, and frankly I don't know how much of that was creative or how much of that was Hogan being like, brother, this is what I think is best for business. Having him bury young talent all the time, and then the one or two times talent got a pin on him, he would bury them. To be honest, the Dennis Rodman stuff was cool. I'm not 100% sure if that, I can't remember if that was Hogan's doing, but Dennis Rodman's just a cool guy, kind of crazy now. You know what I mean? He was kind of crazy then, but you know, he's Dennis Rodman, so yeah, fine. If that was Hogan, I rate that. If not, okay. Okay, we'll get into that later, the Vince Russo stuff. I think that's next. I'm just going to check my timer. I hope I've hit 20 minutes. I've almost hit 20 minutes. But yeah, the whole Hogan stuff was just giving him so much creative control in his contract. I'm not 100% sure if the creative control was over all of the matches or was just the direction of his character and how and when he'd drop titles and stuff. And his obsession with being on top, like, I'm glad that slowly moved out, where Undertaker was still an old school guy, and I don't agree with him in all of his takes, but Undertaker understood that at a certain point, The Undertaker didn't need a title. He didn't need a title to tell compelling stories. Yeah, his last few years have been a bit lackluster because, oh my God, let the old man stop wrestling. Hopefully Vince has let him stop. But he learned that he doesn't need the title to be involved in stuff. Triple H kind of learned this a little bit late. In last couple matches, yeah, didn't need the title. You just need a story when you're someone with that long of a career. I think Michaels was a perfect example of this. I think, yeah, he chased the title at points, but he never won it. I think, like, his great series with Jericho, I think maybe he won it once in that. Then after that, oh yeah, the DX stuff, sure. Undertaker stuff. You know, matches with Cena. He didn't need to win the title to tell compelling stories, and that's something Hogan didn't understand. Hogan was just like, brother, I need to be on top. It's a status symbol. I'm the world heavyweight champion. I'm like, oh. And that's why I think Hogan was such a big part of WCW's downfall. The fact that he took so much money and not provided the money in return, that he didn't draw enough to justify that, and then also his creative control, which helped keep down fresh young talent, was just dumb. And then also perpetuated this idea of having all of his, like, literally now boomer mates. That's how, and yeah, I don't like Hogan, but, you know, that's one of the reasons I think Hogan's a big reason as well. But do you know what else is a big reason? Vince Russo. Letting Vince Russo run unchecked, essentially, across WCW programming was insane. And this was the point where, yeah, Bischoff had a little bit of oversight, and him and Russo did fight a lot over creative. But also, this was when, like, WCW weren't being great to, I think it was Time Warner, or I'm not sure who owned WCW at that point. What was it? Bill Watts? I don't remember who owned them at that time. But yeah, like, even Bischoff was in and out of the company as well, and they were letting Russo run around doing whatever he wants. He was, what did he call it? Did he call it crash wrestling? He was like, yeah, it has to be like TV, it has to be bang, 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 no one gives a shit. It's like, oh my god. Like, you had the shit like someone's mum on a scaffolding match. You had the Viagra on a pole match. Oh my god. Okay. This is the big perpetrator. No, there's two. Okay, there's the one that I think it was Jeff Jarrett lies down for Hogan, wasn't it? Where Jarrett, which was just beef between Russo and Hulk Hogan backstage, and Russo was like, yeah, I'm going to take this beef to the front, and they're going to make it like kayfabe and storyline it, but it was Russo actually being like, I hate Hulk Hogan. So he sent out, I think, who was champion? Jeff? I think Jeff Jarrett was champion at the time. Double J Jeff Jarrett. Slap Nuts. That's actually not how he talks. But yeah, Slap Nuts was champion, and then Hogan comes out, and then Russo comes out and he tells Jarrett to lie down, and then Hogan pins him, and then Russo's like, yeah, this is what you wanted. You want to be the top dog. Blah blah blah. All this bullshit. Hogan walks out because I think Jarrett gets up and leaves, and then Hogan walks out, and I'm like, what's happening here? And it's like, it was clear they didn't like each other, and yeah, fine, I don't like Hogan, but this is stupid to bring your backstage beef to the front and make it into a story, because no one gave a shit about Vince Russo really. And then you had all the bullshit. Oh my god, you had Russo putting the belt on David Arquette because he wanted to get it in line with Arquette's movie, which I think had already come out before Arquette won the belt. And also, I'm pretty sure he wanted it in the newspapers, but they were like the newspapers that like they had at hotels and at airports, like there's free, like, I don't know was it USA Today? I don't know. Like, kind of like the Metro when you're in London. It's just the free one that's there, and they get all the money from advertising. He just wanted it in the papers of that, and no one really cared. And like David Arquette was like, I really didn't want to win the title, but I won it. And now Arquette like almost killed himself a couple of years ago in a match to like make up for the harm he did to wrestling when it wasn't him, it was Russo. I'm just like, what the heck, dude? Like, I think the Rise and Fall of WCW was a good resource for this. I remember reading that, although I've heard it's not 100%. Some of the other wrestling books I've read were good, some of the autobiographies and stuff. I need to read the Nitro book, but this is digressing when I shouldn't be. We're talking about Vince Russo. And yes, I know Vince Russo did good stuff at WWE, but What was the key difference we established before? Vince McMahon was there to be like, this is my company, I have the final decision on everything creative. Again, especially nowadays, for better or for worse, Vince has the final say on everything. However, at that time, when you have a guy like Vince Russo booking your show, you need a guy who's there and be like, no, you're not doing this. Like, imagine if he tried to pull the Viagra on a pole match in WWE. He would be like, what is this trash? Yeah, and I'm sure he wrote some really compelling stuff for WWE. And I think he did do some interesting stuff in WCW as well. But it's like, why? And oh my God, I think the single most egregious thing he did was put that WCW title on himself. Because you know what? When Vince put the title on himself, yeah, that was heat. No, that was the point where like him and Austin were really feuding. Yeah, you just wanted to see Vince get the shit beaten out of him. Yeah, that made sense. Vince Russo, I feel, just put it on himself because he wanted the title on himself. Vince Russo having that title didn't elevate any story. It was just, oh, Vince Russo has the title. It didn't mean anything. And I'm pretty sure he vacated it as well. But I think maybe Vince did vacate it as well, or he lost it. But like, you wanted to see Vince get the shit beaten out of him, and Russo, you just wanted him. Russo had go away heat. I don't like to call it X-Pac heat, but Russo had go away heat. No one wanted him there on their screen, because you were like, this is WCW. You have all these big name talents. WCW also had the legacy in Georgia, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why? Why was this a thing you did, Vince Russo? Just some of the... Yeah. I think if Bischoff was there the whole time Russo was there, and Bischoff had the control and sway that Vince has, and had, he could have reined in Vince Russo enough. Vince McMahon, the sway Vince McMahon had, he could have reeled in Vince Russo enough to be like, no, you're not doing this. You're not doing this Crash TV bullshit. At points, yes, I will admit, worked. There was some fun stuff, but when you got Viagra on a pole match and you've got Vince Russo coming out and having a go at taking out his dirty laundry with Hulk Hogan in public, and then Hogan just fucking walking out, which I guess they played into story later, and then you had Double J, Jeff Jarrett, slap nuts, just lay there, and I'm pretty sure Russo also had a problem with Flair. Everyone just seemed to have a problem with Flair as well, and I'm just like, yeah, maybe he's not, I don't know him personally, I don't know, maybe he wasn't the nicest guy at the time, but Ric Flair was a massive draw, and everyone didn't like, and like all the people on top didn't like him. Maybe with the exception of Dusty, baby. Dusty, man, Dusty was the shit. But you had Vince Russo, baby, like not liking Flair. You had Bischoff not liking Flair. You had the guy who wanted to turn him into a basically gladiator Roman soldier not like him. Then he wanted him to cut off all his hair, his beautiful blonde hair. I wanted him to be the Centurion. I don't remember who that was, but I wanted him to be the Centurion. But yeah, like letting Russo run amok was just not it. Like you have that man book your stuff. You have to rein him in a little bit. Moving on. This is one actually WCW couldn't really control, although they did their darndest to help WWE. WWE's programming got really good, and again, much like I said, Vince Russo is liable for some of the downfall. He also did some great stuff in the WWE, and I will never take that away from him, despite some of the stuff he says. So yeah, obviously WWE was going through phases, and WCW was going through phases, and WCW won the Monday Night Wars for 83 weeks in a row, and I think it lost when Mankind won the title and the Finger Poke of Doom. Shit, Finger Poke of Doom was some stupid shit as well. I don't remember who. I'm not 100% sure who wrote that, but that was the stupidest fucking thing. But yeah, no, WWE's programming got really good. You had the likes of, so you had Steve Austin, who was you had Steve Austin and The Rock, which were both once in a generation talents, which luckily for WWE came around in the same wrestling generation. Albeit I think Austin might be older than The Rock, but I can't tell. Again, no prep. You had two once-in-a-generation talents there. You still had really good wrestlers. You had the best wrestlers at WCW coming over to WWE to fill out your mid-card and make that strong as well. To fill out your cruiserweight division and make that strong as well. WWE moved towards the times. Like, WWE was not with it early on when WWE didn't get it when WCW got it, with the NWO and being a little bit more edgy. But when they got it better, and they got it for longer. Because, again, for better or for worse, Vince is on top. Vince runs his company. Vince has the final say. You didn't have people undermining Vince to follow their own personal agendas in the WWE. Yeah, you'd have guys politic backstage and get on Vince's good side. The Clique is a big example of that. Triple H is a good example of that. You had guys politicking. But you still were like, yeah, let's go. Vince had the final say. Also, WWE, WWF at the time were really good with their brand. Like, Vince was a businessman, and he was like, I'm gonna make this my brand. Again, him buying up the territories. Was it Black Saturday or Black Wednesday, where WWE programming came on in the South when it should have been some territory? All of that stuff. He was a businessman. He is a businessman, and he thinks with a business mind. Again, for better or for worse when it comes to his product. But at the time, they were hot. The Attitude Era, going into the Ruthless Aggression Era. Even the stuff before the Attitude Era wasn't that bad. Like, okay. Montreal Screwjob. Organic, beautiful. Like, the most wrestling shit ever. Organic, just Vince McMahon a heel, Brett screwed Brett. Oh my god, that stuff again. That was less product. That was more Vince being a piece of shit. But you know, well, Vince. Who was it that was saying? God, wasn't it Jim Cornette who was like, yeah, it was my idea and I ran. Like, Vince Russo kind of tried to take credit for it, and then Cornette was like, no, I think it was my idea. I didn't know if they were going to go through with it, and like Cornette just ran. And I think some people like it was probably Cornette, because I think Vince was still kind of like, oh, I don't want to screw Brett, but I have to. But sorry, I went off on the Montreal Screwjob. But yes, WWE's programming just got better, and WCW's got worse. So I don't know if it was the same day as the Finger Poke of Doom. I think it was. But when WCW leaked that Mankind would win the title, and everyone was like, wait, what? Mankind's going to win the title? And everyone liked Mankind because, you know, his bullshit with the Hell in a Cell, all of his hardcore history. People were like, yo, I'm going to go and watch Mick Foley, Mankind win the bloody WWE title. I think I would say arguably the second most prestigious belt in American wrestling at the time, because I would say the World Heavyweight title was more prestigious. Yeah, I'm going to go and see that. And people flicked and watched Mankind. And from there, people were like, oh, wow, they've got Mankind. They have The Rock. The Rock and the Nation were doing great stuff at the time. Steve Austin obviously doing great stuff with Vince and not with Vince. You had even their mid-card was good, because you had all the good mid-carders from WCW go to WWE. Eddie, the Radicals, Jericho was like, he came right in at the top, then kind of went down a little bit, he was like main event / top of the upper mid-card. Fine, their women's wrestling was, but WCW's women's wrestling was, But yes, WWE's programming just got better and WCW's got worse. And I think when WWE provides better programming, that's what's going to happen. Again, let's use a modern day example. I've actually never watched a full episode of Dynamite from start to finish because I don't have time and I like to sleep during the night. But from all accounts, if AEW's programming just gets better and better, and it seems to be doing well. I heard stuff like Blood and Guts was really good, maybe the finish was dodgy, but I've sat and I've watched a Raw. I've watched a Raw from start to finish. Didn't help that it was 1 a.m. till like 4 a.m, but it wasn't good. Actually, when I was watching SmackDown Live, I quite liked that because it was short and sweet. And I watch NXT UK every week. But when your programming isn't great, and by all accounts, WWE's numbers will never be as big as they were at this point in time when WCW fell, because just trends with TV watching, and also WWE's just, their product it's missing something. I don't know what, but it's missing it. But if AEW can capture what WWE is missing, and people who already watch AEW will watch it, people who watch WWE will move there and watch it, you might get people who don't really watch wrestling all that much be like, oh, you know what, I'll check this out, this looks cool. They'll go over and watch it. And that will be, if that happens to WWE, because they can't hold on to their creative, because look, they have the zombies thing. I thought that was funny actually, but the zombies thing is stupid. But if they can't hold on to their good creative, AEW will come in and sweep them up. You've even got the risk of New Japan doing that. Yeah, I know the Japanese product runs completely differently. It's very more sporting. It's far less dramatic. But and I don't think New Japan Strong will deviate from that too much. I think they're still going to present it like a sports program like they do in Japan. But if AEW do that and New Japan do that, WWE will fall, much like WWE captured what WCW was missing. WWE became cool. WCW became a bunch of old men fighting each other and having drama matches on screen. That's what's going to happen. And wow, I'm nearly at 40 minutes, so I'm going to quickly cover the business stuff. All the business stuff was a mess everywhere. Warner didn't want wrestling. It didn't fit in with their new scope. One of the guys that came in just didn't like wrestling. He thought it was stupid. It didn't fit in with what Warner wanted. Bischoff was like, oh, I'm going to buy it with these investors. But then I think Warner merged with, was it AOL at the time? American businesses just mergers and all this shit. I'm sure it's here too, but it's so much bigger there. No one could really, wrestling just didn't fit with Time Warner at the time. They were like, we don't need Nitro was a 3-hour block, and they had Thunder as well, and then I think they had something else. It just didn't work. It didn't fit. And so, very, very From a business perspective, it made sense. They were like, we don't care, we're not going to run this. They sold it for a pittance to Vince, because Vince was like, I just want the brand, the tape library, all that stuff. Instead of the time, he didn't need the time slot. He was going to rebrand it on Raw and make an hour, I think, on Raw, but that didn't work very well because they put Booker T with a lackluster wrestler. But just the business stuff didn't line up, and then business stuff beforehand, people not liking, people at the top not liking other people, the guy who, and then WCW going through things and ratings being bad and Time Warner not wanting to invest, and what was it? It was going to be like, was it like WCW Genesis or something was going to be a thing, and the backers pulled out as well, and then just all over the place, and Bischoff being there, and the business of a Bischoff being off, and then contracts not being done properly, them not making profits when they were getting really good viewership because of budgeting stuff. From a business perspective, it was a mess, and frankly, WWE's bloody programming isn't the best right now, but their business model is so good. They're making so much money. They're making deals with USA, who owns Peacock? NBC, who owns USA. $5 billion deals with Fox, billions of dollars deals with the Saudi government, with the Australian government. They're just doing these massive shows. They're making money. Doesn't matter how bad WWE's programming is. Like, unless they tank it completely, they're not going to lose their deals for showing on TV, which is what matters. So, it's a boring answer, but the business stuff was the biggest nail in the coffin, because no matter how bad the show was, if the business was good, and I don't think it was Bill Watts. Was it Bill Turner? It wasn't Turner, was it? I don't remember. The guy who, like, it might have been Bill Watts. Like, when Turner were like, yeah, we're not doing wrestling anymore. Sorry. It was just like, oh no. Just didn't fit with the programming, it didn't fit with the times. The creative probably leaned into that, but yeah, business stuff was, I think, the biggest reason. All the other stuff was just laying down the gunpowder, and this was the spark. Well, I guess, which makes sense because it was the last thing to happen. But you know what I mean. Like, the other stuff might not have precluded this. The other stuff kind of led to the financial situation. But I think that was 40 minutes with talking about the fall of WCW with no prep beforehand. Imagine if I'd done research and prepped and had the numbers and stuff here. I have a headache, man. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. This is some actual content that was different from the NXT UK reviews and the soon-to-come Progress reviews. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Like, I hope someone finds this video. I really do. I really, really do. Please watch this video. It's 40 minutes. It's taking me so long to edit. Thank you. Goodbye. Go watch some wrestling. You've been kayfabed. I need an outro. Suggest one. Hey, Dave Meltzer, I'm coming for your role as the wrestling historian.